So that video is for the website, actually. It's not meant to have the audio, so that audio cuts out abruptly right there, but it's a really cool video for the website. Okay, let's switch to my default scene. Let's see. All right. Welcome everyone to the Twitch live stream. Before we begin, shameless plug for the Sprint into Spring sale at the asset store right now. You can grab some great deals on some really great assets, but included in this are the RPG Character Complete pack. Oops, our RPG Character Complete right here. A whopping 50% off, save $175, plus save a little bit more with the coupon code. So this is the time to get this pack and keep it top of the charts on the 3D. It's not top of the charts anymore. What? Oh my gosh, it's so far down on the first page. Well, I guess we're competing against Cinti Studios there. Hard competition for sure. So. Anyways, so check that out, and also check out the low poly pack that's also on sale. Low poly monster bundle is also 50% off, and really I've got 2 more characters right about to come out, and that's going to boost this cost to the full $99.99. So you're really saving $58 from the cost that will be later. So shameless plug over for the asset store sale right now. Definitely go to Infinity PBR first, please, and click on See All Assets. That is my affiliate link, and that will give me a little extra cash, which of course right now still goes entirely to making more cool stuff. So today we're going to be working on this RPG project that I've been working on, and I have implemented a bunch of the game modules, and it's working, and I might do some code refactoring, but I think also realistically, I would like to move forward. So the first step is just to get some testing in. I took a day off of work. I got the COVID vaccine yesterday. That's very exciting, and I wasn't feeling so great last night. I feel kind of okay right now, but I decided to take a sick day just in case, and taking advantage of that while the child is in school and the partner is in her own work day to get some live streaming done. And that's what we're doing today. I'm taking advantage. The sun isn't shining, but I'm taking advantage of the day. So this is where we are. This is the scene. There might be some errors. I think I fixed an error that was there before, but we'll see. You can now change your stats. You can change your skills, and now when you add skills, they pop up right here. Oops, I can only add 3 skills. So they pop up. The hand isn't grippy, but that's okay. We're doing one thing at a time. If I add chain, it won't show up because I already got leather, but if we remove leather, then chain shows up. Similar thing with the axe and sword, or mace, or spear, or dagger. So that's really cool. That's what I did last time. These are all using the modules, by the way, and the other scripts that come with the character packs. In this case, we're using stat or skill for all these skills. We're using the items for the items. We're using the database for sure. We are using the on the character itself. Oops, we're using the prefab child manager. That's controlling the character. So like when I change the humans to the human and whatnot. Oh, there we go. When I change to the human or the elf or whatnot, that's using this. You can see it updating right there. And then on the individual characters as well, on the individual characters as well, we have the prefab child manager working on all the objects here. So if I get the sword, there you go. Then we see the short sword in the right hand activate in the shield and chain, and that's a curious right there. So you can see all these things activated in the prefab child manager. That script as well. So this is really cool. Everything seems to be working pretty well. And so, yeah, the next step, that's really cool. The next step is to make sure that I can save, I guess. Because I'm not seeing any errors, which is nice. Of course, the error button is missing here. So maybe that's why I don't see errors. No errors. That's good. No errors in the console. That's always a good thing. And so let's see what happens when we need to get our bonus points down to 0, and we need to assign skills for everybody. So I'm just going to assign some skills to these folks, these lovely characters in the game. Not really going to pay too much attention to the rest. Hey, I think did his hair just change as oh yeah, look at that. All right, well that's something. His hair changed, so I'll have to look into that. I think we need new hair anyways, honestly. So we got this shows up and closes or hides when you need to assign skills. And we'll do face shape, hairstyle. There we go. Give her some darker hair, maybe. Yeah. All right. And then we need to do stats. So I'm just going to assign some random stats here. Because really, you can go up to 21. You can go down to 7, I think. And then we can start our journey. This is where it's going to break because I have not done this stuff yet. So we're going to say live test. We'll do it live. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, start game. Huh, it did something. What did it do? Okay, I've got a to-do I set for myself. I'm surprised it's actually loading a scene. And it seems to have saved, and it seems to have loaded. Well, that's cool. So this was all working before, so it's not too much of a surprise. But I am somewhat surprised in the sense that I just didn't expect it to happen without any errors. It looks like there is some errors here, so that's good in some ways because I expected it. But we got further along than I thought. So let's see where we are here. Let me close this one. Hopefully you can all see the text. If you join in the chat, hi Artwen, hi Narco, and all that, and Tim. I can see your chat, so if you do chat, let me. I will look over at my other screen from time to time and see what you say. But hopefully you can see the code if that's what you're actually watching instead of just listening. Yeah, it is an open world. It's the this is the Meadow Environment Pack from Nature Manufacturer. This is actually just the demo scene. I think Nature Manufacturer makes wonderful demo scenes, and so there's no reason not to just use the demo scene for prototyping. As you can see, I've added some walls up here to simulate like a castle or something, and I've got some dragons in there, and my goblins and flying eyes are apparently not showing up. That's probably related to all these errors down here. But all right, let's see. This needs to be redone. Start game. Oh yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. Good thing I mentioned it to myself in the future. All right. Let's see what's happening here. So first thing we're saying, if the game name doesn't exist, so what we can first do is refactor a little bit and make this a little cleaner, and we'll say if the game name does exist, we're just going to return, because we don't want to overwrite an existing game name. And I can take this out of that, and I understand this is slightly more human readable. Makes sense to me. I agree. So, okay, I'm going to put this up here for myself. So if the game name is null or empty, we'll return. If the game name exists, we'll return. There is some combat actually, but I need to redo it. It was working before to some degree, but I didn't have any stats and stuff, so it's just kind of hard codes, hit points and whatnot. But now that I've got the stats and skills and all that integrated, the next step after getting the game loaded will be to get the UI working and then get those enemies working again, starting with spawning them properly, because I use a sort of bespoke spawn system where it's not the same enemies all the time. There's some randomization built in. Plus, later in the game, after you defeat enemies, they might respawn later, but they might be different enemies. So that as the maps repopulate and refresh, they might refresh with a harder set of enemies. So that keeps the challenge a little bit more challenging. So yeah, post processing is amazing. That's for sure. Let's see. Okay, so if it's null or empty, we're going to return. If the game name exists, we're going to return. Those are all good. All right, we're getting the new index for this game is going to be the next one in the saved games list. And then the name, we're going to save that as this. And let's look at this data, because this is in the scene right now. So game data, general name. And we can load up once this happens. This is, all right, we can load up our game data and see our data and general. And so this is live test. Okay, so this is where I'm storing all the general stuff. I might actually change this to be different, but that'll be later. We don't need to do that quite yet to make use of the dictionaries or something else, but maybe not. We'll see. Where was I? Okay, so active scene name, iron port. This is the position that we're starting at and the rotation that we're starting at. This is just hard coded. I think, in general, I can probably get a scene manager going. So in the future, but this is hard coded. So, let me write a note for myself. Debug.log to do, whoops, can't spell, to do. Turn this into a scene manager thing. I think that would be better. And then add new game. When we add new game, creates a save game with the, save game, new save game with the game time. That's good. Active scene. That's good. And new autosave. No, not autosaved. And then saved games, add. Okay, that's just adding it to the saved games list, basically. And that list just has a name, the game time, so I can display that to the user in the main menu so they can see what time it was in the game, what level they're on, that's the world, like what scene, whether it was an autosave. Yeah, it's a Boolean true if it's an autosave. And then the date and system date that it's saved. All right, that's good. That is good. So we will go back to here and save game data, game index. Okay, this is just saving the game, I believe. Saving game, I do that using JSON. Okay. I might have to change this in the future, how it gets saved. JSON might not be the best selection for that, but for now, I believe it works. So, every time I click over, this happens. Hi, Father Joe. How are you doing? So I'm actually seeing chats from both Twitch and YouTube, which is really neat. I'm using restream.io. This is the second time using it. And I can see chats from both services, but I realize that both services can't see chats from each other. So when I say, hi, Father Joe, I'm glad you're doing good, everyone on Twitch might be thinking, what? This guy's lost his mind. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I haven't lost my mind. and I sometimes know what I'm talking about. All right, so we added a new game. Let me go back here. Save the game list, because we also need to save the list itself, and that's just the list of saved games. Okay, because I have that somewhere. Yep. And that's here, I believe. Yep, saved games. These are all the random tests I've been doing. You can see when I started with coronavirus, now we just call it COVID because we're mature about it. So we just call it COVID, not corona. It's how times have changed. You can see all the different tests I've done throughout. And then we are setting the player prefs level iron port, because player prefs do have a role in this world, don't they? And then we're going to load from a save file. We are loading from a save file, so we will take the level and the position from the saved game data. So what I'm doing here is taking these from the data. Now I set these hard-coded right here, and then I save the data. And then I'm taking that data, which is not from the save file. It's just I saved that data, and now I'm taking the same information and putting it into these player prefs, because when I load the scene, I believe I'm going to load from player prefs the position and rotation and etc. And that way, what's in the save file or what's in this scene manager thing, when I eventually make that, can be overridden by player prefs, so that if I'm being warped in or something, or some other entrance puts you in some other position or whatever it might be, something can set player prefs and not have to worry about changing anything else on the standard start points and positions and rotations. Compute stats, I don't think I need to do anything here anymore. I commented this out, but I'm going to write a note for myself. April 17, 2021. This should already be computed now, so likely we don't need this ever again. All right, so I don't think we need that. Save the game. Didn't we save the game here? I thought we saved the game here. We did save the game there. But what we're doing is saving it again? No. Are we duplicating things here? Game ID. Add new get game ID. Save game data. We already did this. Didn't we already do this? It looks like we already did this. So my thinking is that maybe previously I was saving it before just to get it saved, then computing the data, then resaving it. I don't think I need to do this anymore. So let's just comment these out, and I'll write a note. I've been trying to get better at writing myself notes, dating them as well. Looks like we're duplicating this step. Probably don't need this anymore. So if anything breaks, I can refer back and be like, oh, maybe we do. And then load the scene. And that's where we are right here. That actually works really well. I don't think we need to change anything like that. Make sure to encrypt the player prefs. Yeah, so I think Winter Frame Dev, I think one day I might make a module for saving that's just very simple, that has probably one, maybe two different save options, where something like player prefs can be kind of automatically encrypted. It's not something I know how to do off the top of my head. I know I can do it, but I think that will come in the future. And whoops, and I shouldn't have cleared that. Okay, well, that's okay. All right, now let's figure out what's going on here. Okay, there's a whole bunch of things going on here. Whole bunch of things, one step at a time. So the game is supposed to have 4 portraits down here, and the players are supposed to be up here, and they're clearly not. And then their portraits would be down here. This is like if you know the old Might and Magic games from the mid to late 90s. That's kind of what it's supposed to feel like, but we're going to make it much more modern and much more interactive and much cooler than they could ever do. So, where to start? This is one of those scenarios where there is much to do. All right, so since I have saved it, technically the last saved file is there. So let's see if I can get this working first. If I go to my scenes, go to Ironport, I would like the whole project to be set up so that when I press play on any scene, it will just load the last data that was saved. So let's see if that happens. Let's see, crossing my fingers here. Okay, definitely have the errors. New game is set. Let's see. Did it save? No, it did not load the proper game. Live test is here. It didn't load live test. Why didn't it load live test? New game is, let's see. New game data setup. I'm going to have to change a lot of these things, I think. Yeah. Because this shouldn't run on this scene. This is supposed to run, I think, on, yeah, only on the new game scene. This shouldn't run here. Why did it run here? Where is this attached to? Is it new? Nope. Well, geez. All right, time to figure things out. Where is this loading from? It's just the canvas. I don't need that. All right. Stop it and see what we have in here. We have prefabs, our actors list. These are where the enemies are supposed to show up. They're not right now. We'll deal with that later. Calling them actors. Okay. I'm gonna make a new object here. Create empty. We're gonna call this environment or scene. I'm just gonna call this scene. What I want to do is just move everything into into this that I don't need. So it's gonna be, keep the cubes out, keep that bounding box out. Remove those. That was a random test I was doing years ago, way back in the day when I was young and dumb. So I'm gonna move this up here and move all this stuff up here that I don't need to really touch. All these. And this, and this, and this, and this. This. All right. Player, UI, camera. We'll keep that out for now. Game. Okay. Canvas. Okay. Level. This might come into play. Required objects. Important. And I think this is where new game data setup. That's where that script is. So we need to do a couple things here. I don't want to load the default data if this isn't a new game. So instead I want to load the last saved data, which I think I have a method for that somewhere. It might be a static. Let me see. Scripts. static mains, game data, new game setup, RPGF. Well, let me just see. I have a load game canvas, load game menu. Is there a load game button? There may be a load game button somewhere. No. Is there no load game button? There's a close button. It's going to load prefabs. There, the load game button. So there's a prefabs, probably a UI prefabs if I was smart, and I was. Hopefully I called it something like load game, saved game panel. Load game panel. All right. Game clicked. Ah, this is it. All right. I was smart enough. Wasn't super clear, but smart enough. Hold on. I need to turn on a heater. It's getting chilly this morning. All right. I'm back. All right. So we have the load game when you get clicked. So this is where I want to see this message. Loading game from saved file via the ID. Do I see that message? Let's find out. This is happening. No, I don't see that message. Instead, I see this message. So, and reset. So what I need to do is change this here and make it load the last thing. Load game. Just what's load? Load scene. Okay. So what I need to do is load the last things. Not this one. Where was it? New game data set. All right. Okay. So I'm going to do a public static string, and we're going to say new game scene name. So I'm going to name that. I think it's new game. We can change it if needs be. And we're going to say awake. New game equals null. New game's this. All right. And then this happened right here. This reset starting. Sep new game data. Where is this called from? On game data. If new game, sep new game. Huh. Trying to get in my own head. It's difficult. Now I understand what other people are thinking. Okay. Because what we really want is to say, hey, if you start the game and it's not the if it's not the loading scene, then don't load the loading scene. So I think that will work here. And what we can do is say if scene manager dot active scene get active scene dot name is not that name, then we'll go load last game data and return. So just oops, just select the whole thing and then return, because we don't want to load that. So we'll instead say public void load last game data. All right, and then where is the load game controlled? Load. Okay, it's not there. Is it here? Load game list. Scene loaded. Scene was loaded. Look at this. I was doing stuff here. Scene was loaded. Do I have that in here? Doesn't look like this shows up here. Why not? This is where I'm thinking, like, do I need to just restart, redo it from the start? Which might be okay to do that. That's a choice. That's a decision. It's a big decision because if I redo it, then I have to commit to that. And there's a lot of stuff I wrote, but also going back in time is kind of challenging too. Scene was loaded. Scene loaded never gets called. How come scene loaded never gets called? Because I commented it out. And look at this. This is where scene load was called, and I commented that out. Interesting. What was I thinking? No one knows. This sets the static variable. Okay. And then once that's set, you populate the items. Update player stat skills. Okay. We'll deal with that later. And then this section might need to be restarted. So let's try that. Let's see what happens when we do that. I think I haven't actually touched this in like 6 months or something, which is why I am so utterly confused by myself. Promised myself I will do better next time and make it more clear what the heck I was doing. All right, hey, look, we got bad guys. This is very exciting, everybody. We have bad guys. Look, the icon is working. So there's definitely errors being thrown, but I bet, can we move? We can't move. We can't move, but we have bad guys, and they're walking around like bad guys do. And that's very exciting because this is exactly what they were supposed to be doing. And let's see, where's the post-processing? So they're walking around like bad guys. Look at all of them. One got out. That's what I was doing. I was testing to see, would they get out randomly if I had just a small opening. This one definitely did get out because he must have had a random target destination to be over here. And look, this one found the player. I have a line there. That's exciting. This is all very exciting. I'm sure you can tell how excited I am. Let's see. We have a flying eye coming towards us. Do we? Looks like he's coming towards us, but facing the wrong way. Oh no, he's going away now. All right, maybe he wasn't close enough to. He was close enough to be aware, but not close enough to care enough to attack. Where'd that random goblin go? No idea. Probably walked back. Are these ones? Oops. Nope, they're not stuck. One of the issues I was facing before was this, where one goblin pushes another, rather than walks around. But that's another thing to do, because for the most part, this movement script was working fairly well. I enjoyed it. That is an issue, but they stopped. These goblins look very bored. All right, so this is good. This is good because that means things worked more appropriately. I think, let's double check our data. Did it load? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. So that saves me a lot of time because it seems that it did load the correct data. which is helpful because I was going to have to redo that if it didn't, and it did, and it looks like all these are here. Are they all here? Start our skills are all here. Let's see. This was the one I gave a lot of skill points to. Yep, it is. And it's being sluggish. All right. And are we equipped with stuff? We are equipped with stuff. That's exciting. We have the inventory. I'm suddenly realized that I need to make sure that an item can both be in the inventory and equipped at the same time. Pretty sure that my original thinking was that if an item is equipped, that means it's not in the inventory. But I think that's a bridge to cross another time. Okay. And remove this error when done. What does that mean? From this point on, all data manipulation should be done on active scene data, not on the local level setup data. Remove this error when done. All right. Okay. I guess that meant this is my way of saying, hey, this is where all the game data is loaded, because things like the portraits aren't loading. Items, I don't know if they've loaded. I had a whole cache of items over here, and it looks like... Did they load? Does not look like they loaded. They would be over here if they had. And of course, other things didn't load. The position loaded just fine. Removing actors from data. Not sure what that means. Remove any actors that are in data but aren't in the level. So this is a way of saying, hey, later on when people are playing an alpha version of this, I might change the actors in the level, the different enemies, and they're going to be saved in the player data, but they might not be in the level anymore. So this was my method of removing them from the saved game data before we go ahead and load stuff. Checking index 14. Matched. I'm paused, right? Yes, okay. Is this just going back? Oh, it's going backwards because, yeah, it's going backwards because if I remove one, then it'll throw an error at the list. So I'm just doing it backwards. And let me just clean up this right now. So let me just be smart. All right, summary. Remove any actor that are in the saved game data, but are no longer in the level data. This is useful when I update the game with new actors, and sometimes remove some so that the player data gets updated before trying to instantiate things that are intended to be gone. Okay, that makes sense. I will remove that. I will keep this debug log for now, though. I will, however, remove these debug logs. And so I'm going to clean this up. Found actor, false. So what we're going to do, I think I can remove that. So we're going through the actors count. And if we found an actor, oh, I see, then we're saying true. So what I'm actually going to do is, so if we find an actor, we're going to continue. I'll keep my comment here. I'm just going to duplicate it, continue. So this means if I found an actor, continue with the loop. It's not going to do the rest of this. This threw me for a loop. When I first learned about continue, continue doesn't actually mean continue with the rest of the code. It means stop here and continue with the loop. And so I can remove that. But if we didn't find the actor, Let's see. Actually, let me rethink this, because I need to go through all the actors here, so I need to go through these regardless. If I found an actor, I don't need to continue. I actually need to break. Suddenly my brain feels like mush. Because if we don't find it, then I want to remove that. But I don't want to put that up here, because then it will remove it right away. So what if I just don't change anything? Huh? How about that for now? Don't change anything. Well, I did change something. I added this. That's better. So I made an improvement. That's nice. I left things prettier than I found them. Okay, so this is going through these, and we'll go through all those goblins. And then adding 15 scene actors to data. So this is the same thing, but the opposite. So let me make this prettier with a nice thing. This will add actors that are in the scene list, but not yet in the player data, which means the player is either first coming to the scene, because it won't be in the scene data if the players never come to the scene, or these actors were added in the latest build and need to be added to the data before instantiating the objects. All right, and same thing here. I'm going to remove these debugs, and everything else. I'm just going to leave as is. I'm going to leave this debug too. I'm going to leave that commented out just in case. Just in case I need it later. Let that load. All right. Found match, found match, found match, found match. Loading actors. First, loading this enemy. Why did I make a debug log error? I'm going to make that a warning. Error scares me now, so I'm going to make it a warning. The first time it loads an enemy, we need to set it up. Okay, load player actor from the scriptable object. Okay. That makes sense. I need to redo my scene actors entirely, actually. But that's another topic as well. I want to get the scene working first before I do anything else. Invert the statements. I know. That's why I was trying to... Jason. Oh, hi, Jason. That's what I was doing on the other one. And I said, oh, my brain feels like mush, so I decided I'll come back to it later. Wait. Extract functions when an if-else statement has more than 6 lines. That also makes sense. I've been trying to do that with my latest stuff as well. My job right now, though, is just to figure out what the heck I was doing before. May need an update, see? I was being a little forward thinking with myself. Where is this? May need an update. And then all this stuff. Compute stats. Oh yeah, this doesn't need an update. Stats are now completely outside of this function. I'm using it a bunch of times, so I'm going to have to do a lot of refactoring to clear that out. See that old proficiency. So I don't think we'll have to come back to that because it might need an update still, but it's all over the place. So this is actually doing this for a lot of different things, and that's where okay, for all the enemies it's going to do all their stats. What are you eating tonight, Jason? I just had toast with peanut butter because it's morning here. Look at all these. Okay, there we go. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Okay. Cursor, existing panels. What existing panels? Load game list. Whatever that is. Okay. Count 73. 73 saved games. And this. Aha, this is the good stuff because this is where I want to see these portraits down here. But they're not showing up. Why are they not showing up? And why can't I click this? Hot dog. Hot dog. I want to make an impossible meat hot dog. I was thinking about that while walking and trying to be healthy the other day. I was thinking an impossible meat hot dog might be tasty. And every time I hear hot dog, I think hot dog, not hot dog from Silicon Valley. So there's that. That's what goes on in my head. Okay. Argument out of range. Let's figure this one out. RPGF 927, 927 lines. RPGF needs to be refactored beyond belief. I'm better now than I was before, a year ago. And so this will need to be refactored. But first, I want to get things working. And then we'll go back. Is able. That's somewhat descriptive. Is able what? Is able to be a person? Maybe? Aha! Final stats get value hit points. See? Is not able if they're dead. That makes sense. And I probably would have added things like if they're turned into stone or mummified or something else too. All right, so this is throwing an error, I think, because we're not using stats or skills this way anymore. So I'm going to comment this out and put a note for myself. So for April 17, 2021, need to update this to the new stat or skills method or change it entirely to a bool held on the player data. And then debug log, debug.log will need to update this on checking if the player is alive. Because if the player is dead, then they are not able to do anything. That's probably what I was thinking. All right, so let's try again, since that is definitely the first breaking issue. Click the blue link to the jump to the line. Okay, we'll test that in a second. I didn't see a blue link, did I? Oh. Ha! Well, you learned something new. Everybody else who isn't watching and seeing comments on the YouTube stream, if you're on the Twitch stream, or you're watching this later, click this, and it loads. Click this, and it loads that. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, I learned something new today. It will mean when you click the link, it will ping the object and jump to it. Second parameter on the string. Okay, wait. Let's go back here. Pause this real quick. I'm going to learn something else before we continue. We were in, not this. We'll deal with those later. We were here. So player. So it's this. Now this is just a static function, a static method here. Context. So what I really want is the player, but so I see, if I'm understanding correctly, this context bit would be like an object. Oh, okay, as it says here, log, which the message applies. Yeah, if you have a game object. Okay, well that's cool. I did not know that. I've never actually looked into the debug log more than just warning an error. But you can throw that on the object, and if this were on the object, then it would highlight in Unity, I'm guessing. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And I will take advantage of that at some point, I am sure. All right. So our things didn't load. Our portraits didn't load, which is a shame. Okay. We're still going to keep that error then, because it's helpful. Loading first enemy. May need an update. So many may need some updates. Let's collapse. Adding them. Load items, even though I don't think they actually loaded. Or did they? Did they load this time? Nope, they didn't load. Okay, deal with that later. I have to redo my entire items because of the new modules. So, speaking of logs, I can add color to mine. You can add color to your logs. Apparently you can add color to your logs and change the size of the logs. Oh man. I'm learning too many new things all at once. It's like I'm in school, which I actually like these days because I like learning this stuff. Man. Let's see. Well, let me see if I can fix that here. Color red. Like this. Like that. Let's find out. So this is like HTML markup. And I'm just going to pause for a second and test and see if that works, because that's pretty neat. All right, where was that error? That error didn't show up this time. Haha, foiled. Okay, let me do it here. This one always shows up, and I'm not going to remove it anymore, or yet, so color equals yellow. And slash color. When I was a kid in high school, my dad started a web service company back when they charged by the minute of usage, and they needed cheap labor, so they taught us how to do HTML coding, and they paid us $20 an hour, which of course in 1995 was amazing. And you're not derailing things. The whole point of this is for me to learn and also do better, and for anyone watching to hopefully pick up a few tips and tricks too. So this I'm very thankful for your tips here. But now whenever I write HTML, still 26 years later, look at that, yellow. See that, everybody? HTML markup. That's really nice. Okay, good to know. This was a good tip. I had no idea. You could do that. But now when I write HTML, I still want to capitalize everything. So I'm just like holding down shift, because I guess that was the thing back in the day. I don't think it's the thing anymore, but I still do that. 26 years later. Yeah. That was helpful. Okay, so the next error that we face every single time seems to be this null reference. And I'm going to click the blue, double click it. Skill data object. All right, so this looks like a newer thing. And this is where the blue was. Oh, of course it didn't show up because this was a null reference, not a log error. That's why it didn't show up as blue. All right, let's figure out what it's trying to call here. Debug.log. Check this out. I'm going to color it green because green means it's okay. It's just for me. So color equals green. And get skill data object. To figure out what skill data object it's trying to call, we'll go from there. Okay, start again. Aha, it's easier to scan for color. Okay, so it's trying to get the skill data object for the sword. Now that does exist, or it should exist, because it should be in my stats and skills, skill data object, sword. It's right here. So it does exist. We need to find it. We're probably looking this in the wrong spot, and that's probably because we no longer need to find it by this method. That makes more sense. Now I'm understanding things better. So now game data should be, we've got this RPG data, and that's where this basically is linking to all the skill data objects. So that's how I want to find that scriptable object. So in my game data, I need to make sure there's a link to that. And it doesn't look like I have added a link to that in the class. So RPG data. And I probably should rename that RPG data in the module, because the module doesn't have to be RPGs. It could be used for anything. That is a to-do for me in the future, to update this module to not require it to be RPG and not default to say RPG, because it doesn't have to be an RPG, and that could confuse some folks, I think. And it's not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Let's see. Is it not serializable? Okay. It's because it's static. Doesn't have to be static. Does not have to be static at all. That's probably why, then, my guess. There it is. And now I will assign my RPG data there to that. And I will save this update. Okay. All right, so now in that error, where was the error? Let's find the error. I cleared out the console because I hate having console stuff there, and I tend to clear it out, and then I do this quite often where I think, I shouldn't have cleared it out. I needed to know where that was, where that one line was. So now we need to start again in order to find that one line. It's green now, though, so it's easier to find. See that? See? That tip has saved me about 4 or 5 seconds of my life, maybe more, and I am grateful for that. All right, so game data, skill data objects is now going to be nope, that's not what I want. You do it 3 times, so I'm going to change this wherever this may be. Game data dot game data dot RPG data dot skill data objects dot count.
Hello.
Dot hold on. I learned something else new today. School gets out early now on Thursday, Friday, because some of the kids are going back to school for the last 4 weeks, apparently. And so school just got out. It's only 10:30 in the morning. School just started like 2 hours ago. And school's out already. That seems weird to me. It also seems wonderful to the younger version of me a long time ago. Oops. Why don't I have count here? What's going on? RPG data, skill data objects, skill data objects. Do I not have a list of skill data objects? Let's see. Why pray tell? If I go here, I have a list of skill data objects, right? Or not? Well, that's interesting, because I would have thought that this would have had all these skill data objects assigned to it. Apparently it doesn't. Another to-do for me. I'm going to write that here. For 27, April 27 or 17, 2021, trying to be friendly to Europe in the naming of dates. To-do, add a list of skill data objects. Okay, so that's something for me to do. For now, I can still grab it a different way. What I'm really trying to do is return the skill data object. String name from sword. This was sword. So I really am going to go through the stat or skills. And actually, that's not even the way to do it. That's not even the way to do it. It's going to be stat or skill, sword, or stat or skill equals RPG data, which is going to be game data, RPG data, and I can do even better here by doing, what line was that? 1248, way up here. Public static RPG data. RPG data equals game data.game data.rpg data. I think that's how I would do it. And then 1248. Make it easier. RPG data dot stat or skills dot get skill by name. All right, and then skill. We're returning skill data object, so return dot skill data object. That's a lot easier. In fact, how about this? Return that skill data object. Likely, I should build in some sort of graceful method of falling back to what happens if they can't find one. But maybe that's a to-do item for the future. To-do, graceful error handling. I think that's the term to use. And just for shits and giggles, comment this out, even though I don't need to technically. And I was thinking this could actually be done differently. Instead of storing this here, let's go over to game data. And we can say public static RPG data, RPG data, RPG data. No, equals RPG data. Is that, how would that work? You know, I have to make a method. Like static data return get RPG data return RPG data. So I'm seeing in the YouTube chat for those on Twitch, Jason is saying a typical solution to a try function, bool success equals try, or a thing try get something out variable var result, then you check if success, do it. That makes sense. I'm going to screenshot that comment right now and play with that later because I think that's going to be a bigger thing for me to figure out off the stream probably. And what I'm trying to do here is make this a static thing so I can just call RPG data from somewhere and have it be equal to that. But that's okay. I'll deal with that another time too. I want to move on is what I'm getting at. So now we are getting the skill much more simply because the new modules make it a little easier to do that. And this should no longer throw an error for sword. So let's find out. Let's find out. If the class is static, you don't need to make an instance at all. Well, the class is... No, not this one. Game data. The class is not static, though. Game data is not static, but this reference is static. The reference to this class is static. But the reference to game data or RPG data is a scriptable object. And there could be multiple in the project. But, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I will do that later. I think it will be helpful to be able to call RPG data from anywhere, similar to the way I do game data. I do that in the awake method here. So I guess what I could do, let me just try that real quick. I guess public static RPG data, we'll make it all uppercase to differentiate. And then in the awake, RPG data equals RPG data. That should work. This can be made private, but I don't want, if it's static, it can be private. Is that what it's saying? That it doesn't have to be public if I'm using it elsewhere? Let's find out. If I go back to my RPGF and remove this right here, get down to 1248 again. Whoa, too far. Yeah, that didn't work. So let's do something. Okay. I agree with you. I'm going to do another screenshot because I want to redo stuff there, I think, in that regard. But for now, I do want to move on with this. So I'm going to go back to where I was right there. And on this one, I will come back to this later. I don't think this is going to throw an error, but I'm still going to come back to it later and just comment this stuff out for now. Okay. Let me press play and see what happens. Oh, look at that. I was about to say my main goal is to get the portraits working. All right. All right. We got something. These are the wrong portraits, but they're portraits. Okay. One step further. All right. We got more errors here. Bounding box of actor object doesn't exist. Really? What is that in reference to? Bounding box. What was I doing here? This is my navigation script that I'm going to have to redo altogether. Ah, is it in the bounding box? That was in reference to, I believe, a box that should be around this saying, hey, you need to stay within this group. Oh, look, I'm about to be attacked. That's cool. Ah, and I can turn. Can I move? And I can move. That's cool. Look at that. Being attacked. That's lovely to see. Can you guys hear that? No, I don't think you can. You can't hear the sound effects from the game, can you? Jason, if you... Yes, I will always take you up on a refactoring session. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear. It doesn't... good. Because the sounds are fun. I like the sounds. But man, I need to clean it up before you. It's embarrassing, I think, at this point. Mostly because I've learned so much in the past year with some of your help, to be frank, and Andrew. And but I want to clean it up before because I'd rather focus on learning brand new things rather than things that I already know I should know and should do before. But otherwise, yes, let's do it. All right, so if this is just now, it's saying the variable bounding box doesn't exist anymore. I don't know why that's the case. Why wouldn't it exist anymore? So we'll just do this. If no bounding box, no. If bounding box is null, then return false. Guess if there's no bounding box, then it's not in the bounding box. Yeah, that's I'm curious though. I'm thinking like, why is my bounding box destroyed? If I am remembering properly, which I may not be, but if I'm remembering properly, each one of these is supposed to have an actual bounding box that says, hey, stay within this box. And that's in the navigation. Bounding box right here. Yeah, so a bounding box. Ah, yeah, it's supposed to be within this bounding box. So hey, all of these are supposed. Whoop, all of these are supposed to stay within that box. And I think earlier in the stream I saw a goblin walk out here, and I think that wasn't supposed to happen. Pretty sure the position of any new position should be within the bounding box, and if it's not within the bounding box, then we have an issue. And therefore, I am afeared that I may have just created an infinite loop here. So I'm going to return true because I think. Ah, okay, never mind. I can go back and undo that. It can be false because it's saying if it's not in the bounding box, if the new position is not in the bounding box, the new position needs to be in the original position plus another random vector from the original position, with an assumption that the new position, this random position, what is this random position? Oops. Random position. I don't know what I'm doing there. Just saying a new random position, I guess. Do I have a method for a random position? Random position. Oh, I sign up here. I see. Sign up earlier. So that's a unit inside circle. All right, so that should solve it. If I just say, hey, if you don't have a bounding box, a link to the bounding box, then let's find out. Okay, all those goblins. There's my words. The bounding box doesn't exist anymore. Well, of course then. Well, that's interesting. What am I doing then that's making this? Hey, look at that. I think I've ran into this problem before. Because this is saying on 26, it's saying the bounding box doesn't exist anymore. How can it not exist when it does exist all at the same time? Yeah, it's an array and it has the bounds inside. So if the array length was 0, then I'm returning true. And then null check the current box. Twitch on Samu, I have no idea why it's in Spanish. I don't speak much Spanish. Definitely didn't write it. I'll have to look into that. Okay, if bounding box I is not equal to null and bounding box, box I dot bounds is not equal to null, then we do the rest. And I can reverse this I know, or think, or so really, if I can, yes, I'm working on Void Boy 777. I am working on an RPG game. Thank you for asking. It's called Legend of the Stones. It was called something else entirely, but then it turns out there's a really not very good iOS game by the exact same name. It's a good name. I'm not going to say it, but it was a good name, and I was very disappointed. I already had the URL and everything. But now it's called Legend of the Stones, which is also a good name and very vague. And that was part of my goal, is to make it vague. So I can say then, if it's not these, then I can return false. Right? If it is null, or if this is null, then really I can just say break, right? I don't need to return false there. I just say break. Otherwise, we'll do this, and we can reverse this as well. We're going to say if it doesn't contain the position, well, I guess we don't need to reverse that. If it contains the position, return true. Otherwise, return false. But we're going to break this if this is null, but this doesn't work. Oh, because it's expensive. Yeah, the name changed. It used to be something much more vague. What was it? Like something about quest. Something quest. It was a quest because I wanted to leave it very open. But now it's the Legend of the Stones. Just Legend of the Stones. The problem is I really want it to be called Might and Magic. But that's definitely taken. And that name's a good name. But, alright, let me try this. See if we get the error here. Thanks, Void Boy. I'm glad you like them. I agree they're pretty good on the market. Although I do like that Unreal Metahuman thing. And I wonder if one day we'll be able to export that into Unity. Okay. Bounding box doesn't exist anymore. So that's what's very confusing to me here. Why is it saying the bounding box doesn't exist anymore when, I mean, it clearly does here, but it suddenly doesn't in the for loop? That makes no sense. The variable bounding box of actor object doesn't exist anymore. And this is the character bounding box on type mismatch. Type mismatch. Type mismatch. We're getting closer to the truth here. Bounding box is a collider. Is bounding box supposed to be a collider array? I don't think so. Bounding box 1. Oh, it's a... So bounding box is supposed to be an array of box colliders. So type mismatch happens when you change the type of variable after you assign it in the inspector. So let's see. I assign it as a collider array. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is in bounding box. Okay, so this is the only uses of bounding box. So if bounding box equals, so so how about this? If bounding box, bounding box, gosh darn it, what am I doing? bounding box dot count equals 0, return false. Length equals 0, return false. So it's an array. If it's 0, return false. I did that under here and I was returning true, so let me just do that. Okay, I already did that. Clear out or reassign the array. So you need to fix the inspector value. Oh, it was serialized when I saved the game? I'm confused. So where is... So let me start from the beginning here, because the bounding box is in the scene and the characters aren't in the scene. Unless we're talking about these. No, those are leaves, not goblins. From far away they look like goblins. They're just leaves. Okay. So their bounding box should be right here. Type mismatch. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Jason. You don't see my video, but I made a hats off to you gesture towards my laptop, which wouldn't even had the camera. So, but that's okay. I made a hats off to you gesture because sure enough, there is the bounding box. So this one's out of the bounding box. The rest are in the bounding box. And bounding box, bounding box, bounding box. Where's the bounding box now? There it is. Bounding box. It's not working unless the actor object has a different... Bounding box is a collider. Can I not bring this over? I can. Those don't have a bounding box because they are outside of that box. All right, and one thing I want to actually change this to bounding box as, because it's an array of more than one of them. And I'm going to do the same here. For those watching, Rider is amazing. I, like many of you, probably didn't want to spend extra money. And then one day I was watching a multitude of videos from Unity3D.college, Jason Wyman's channel, and he kept talking about Rider, and there was a deal, so I signed up for the deal, and I was like, I'm going to be cool like him, so I got Rider, and it's amazing, because changing, like, refactoring and stuff is amazing. I don't even use all of its capabilities, but it's amazing, and I have not canceled my subscription since, and I don't think I will for the foreseeable future. As long as I am doing anything with this, I'm going to keep that subscription. All right, where's my next error? Because I think that one should be fine now. Ooh, we're getting really low to the list here, aren't we? All right. Player portrait. Good. That's where that's why I wanted to get to today when I started like an hour and a half ago or something. All right. Aha, stats. This is it's good that this is actually throwing an error because this is obviously something I need to fix now, because Session Skills is part of the new modules, and I'm changing this slightly. So what I really need to do here is this final stat or skill. I need to update that rather than, let's see, what is this? Get value index. This needs to be updated too. So this is what this is, so this is the player portrait, which we can see here, and these two values, the hit points and the magic points. And you can add a right-click menu to the element itself to perform some auto actions. Yes, that sounds like something I would like to learn about. There's so much. This is the type of thing like with where I think like Unity probably started and things were complicated enough, but now everything keeps getting added to. C# is like gets added to all these new things, and it becomes harder in a way to learn than it was before, because you're learning, plus you're learning all the new stuff too. But I guess in some ways, as you speed up, it also gets easier to learn, which is a paradox. Anyways, I digress. We have this. What am I doing here? I'm saying if the value is not what we're actively showing, then load the value. And so we're really just trying to get the hit points of the character. So I got an easier method of doing that. And that method is, it's going to be game data.gamedata.rpg data.stat or skills.get get skill or get stat. No, not stat or skills. It's actually being on the player because it's unique to the player. So data.player dot stat or skills. Actually, let's go to the player and see what we've got going on here. Nope, player. So this is the main one. Final stat or skills is computed somewhere. But for hit points, I believe we're just storing that in the regular stat or skills. So it would be stat or skills dot get skill or dot list of stat or skills. I think I might have a So I think I want to add something here. So I'm going to be getting the player's health fairly often. Hold on. Let me pause this. What's happening? I'm being attacked by a goblin. Oh yeah. Look at that. This goblin guy is getting me. Getting us. We can fight back. It's nice that some things are actually working. Anyways. Alright. Pause that. And so if we break it down, I'm doing this for me as much as anyone else. At the top of the class, you can also go using static game data, so you don't have to prefix. Oh, that's right. That was something you taught me just a little bit ago. So let me implement that for everyone to see what Jason was saying. Using game data and static game data. And then I just have to do this. Is that right? Then it would just be game data dot player, and that saves a little bit of a headache. Not a headache, just it's a little bit better. It's a little redundant on all these now, but nope. What was the find and replace? What was the key command for find and replace? I forget now. Knew it last week. Did it change? No, I just forgot it. And data. All right. So I mean I don't need this, or I still need this? I still need that. Okay, what is this saying? This yellow squiggly. Quality comparison of floating point numbers, possible loss of precision. All right, I can ignore that for now. Okay. Wait, Jason's saying, nope, I don't need this. I think he's saying, nope, I don't need that. Correct, he's right, as always. I don't need that. Look at that. That saves one line off of every script I have in my life. Okay, game data player. So what I was saying is I'm gonna call up health a lot. Health is stored on the stat or skill. I paused that because I wanted to come in here and show myself and everybody else the player data, and it's getting slow. And stat or skills. And in this big long list of stuff, we have somewhere in here hit points. Where is it? Where is it? It's got to be here somewhere. I guess it doesn't have to be, but it probably is. Did I not add just my hit point tracker? Hit points. There it is. Okay, hit points. So just call it hit points. And this is where we're storing the actual hit points. Right now it's 30. It should go up and down. And so rather than having to search for that all the time, it's better to, of course, cache it. And then go to, so in here, I'm going to do cached stat or skill references. So I'm going to try to do something. I haven't done it before, but I think this should work. I was thinking about it the other day. I want to have a public variable. It's going to be a float called current hit points. Or was this called hit points? Forget current. Hit points. And this is going to be equal to get hit points. Not hit points max, just get regular hit points. It's a bespoke method, not part of stat or skills. So if I add it here, public, I guess I can private, float get hit points. And we're going to do a couple things. So first, with this, I want to do a private int hit points index. Smarter people than me out there who might be watching, I tend to do like something crazy like that, where I'm like, hey, I don't have this assigned yet, so I'm going to assign it to like 9999, and then down here I'm going to be say, hey, if hit points index equals 99999, all the nines, then we're going to call assign hit points index, and create a method for that. And here, this is where we're going to do for int I equals 0. I can't type. I is less than stat or skills dot count I plus plus, and if stat or skills dot I dot name equals hit points, and return, or not return, we're just going to say hit point index equals I. And so now that will be assigned once. The first time we look it up, it's going to search for it, but after that, it will always be there. The question I have though is when I'm saying a default int, it defaults to 0. I don't want it to default to 0 because potentially hit points could be the first in the list. So is there a way to be like null this, to make this null? I don't think it can be null. Can it be null? No, it can't be null. So is this a fine way of doing it? I don't think anyone's ever going to have 10,000 stats or skills. And if they do, they're doing it wrong, I think. But all right. So I'll leave it there. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But from there, oh, -1. Hold on, I have to give my iPad to somebody who's also learning to code, by the way, with a new app called... What's the app called that we got? Okay, I'm not supposed to talk about it, but she's learning how to code too, which is very cool because it's exciting. She's 8. I'm not supposed to talk about it. Getting in trouble for talking about it. -1. We'll make this less than 0. If that's less than 0, and it is when it starts, so I'm gonna try to implement this new stuff that I'm hearing about. So int question mark oh, interesting. So then if I can say, and then here I'd be like, if not that, or I guess I wouldn't say that, I would say if null equals null. Oh, look at that. Int question mark thing equals null. And then I don't even need that because it defaults to null. And what is this? Hit point index has value. Oops. It's not a method. So if it doesn't have value, oh my goodness. Is has value just saying if it's null or not? That's much more easily readable. It's much more easy to read. All right, so what we did up here. Oh, okay. That's how I had no idea that has value was a thing to check if something was null. Now we're doing this nullable int by putting a question mark after it and then hit point index. And then down here in our get hit points, if it's null, or if it's null as in if it doesn't have value, we're going to assign hit points value. We're just going to do this loop once per session where we look up that value. And Jason is saying you can make any value type a nullable type, floats, doubles, etc., just by adding the question mark after it. I had no idea. I bet somebody else out there also learned something new today too about that, because that actually, I mean, this comes up so often when I'm doing stuff. So often I face this where I'm like, I'll set up to 99999. Case in point, magic panel equals 99. So, hold on one second. Let me mute myself. I am back. So case in point, there you go. So I'm going to have to do that, but I'm not going to do that right now. That will derail me because I could go for hours probably fixing that. But I need to get the hit points, and I'm going to do the same for the magic points, but assign the hit points. And then once it's assigned, we're going to get the hit points. So this is going to be return stat or skills, hit points index dot base value, because while the stat and skill object this is interesting. So Jason is saying that this is often a bad idea to do this, but it might work in this case. So we're not going to do the null value thing because Jason is warning us, don't use the null value type thing if you intend the inspector to assign it. Do I intend the inspector to assign it here? I'm getting an error here that says it is not assignable. So I'm assuming that I don't want to do this method. Or are you saying dot value? Oh, I see. I see, because okay, let me see if I'm wrapping my head around this properly. This nullable int now is two things in one. It is first, is it null or not null? Hot dog, not hot dog, like in Silicon Valley. And if not null, what's the value? So, so if it doesn't have value, otherwise, take the value, basically. And since this is a private, I mean, it's technically... Yeah, it's saying it might be null because it doesn't know whether or not. But we know it's not going to be null, probably. So my above check's not covering the... So I guess I kill the player if it's null. So hit point index dot has value. If it doesn't have value, then kill the player, return 0. That would kill the player in many cases, but that's okay. That'll get the dev's attention, my attention for sure, if the player keeps dying. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to return this base value. Now, the question, though, if this is not going to be serialized in the inspector, does that mean it wouldn't be serialized in a saved game file? And the data being saved and serialized? Because if that's the case, I probably don't want to do it like this. Simply because, you know, this for loop isn't the worst in the world. It's going to go through maybe 100 or 200 different stats or skills. But if it does that fairly often, then I guess it's better just from an optimization standpoint to avoid having to do it more than once per game. Jason doesn't know if it will serialize. And so what I'm going to do is do the -1 method. Yeah, so I think this is actually really cool to have learned, and I'm glad I learned this. However, and there's other sub things I learned from that, I'm going to do the -1 method that we were doing earlier, and we'll just say if that is less than 0, we'll assign it. And we'll move that. And we don't need this anymore. And we don't need this anymore. And that would work too. And now this private int should be serialized when we save it. So this would only run really at the very start of the game when the player first loads the very first scene. This would assign, and after that, this list doesn't change. I mean, technically, I suppose you could add to it. I don't even know, but it shouldn't change throughout the game. Once that's set, that's set. Is that true? Now I'm asking myself, is that true? You can shorten your loop check if you're doing your -1 thing. I can? How can I shorten my loop check? I'm asking myself the question now, though. Is it possible that later in the game, somebody's playing the game in an alpha version, I add a new stat or skill that rearranges the list of the stat or skills? Is that possible? And the answer is sure. Why not? Of course it can be possible. Probably wouldn't happen. I would assume any new stat or skills I add would happen at the end. But what happens if hit points comes after one that I remove? Then the index will definitely change. Therefore, I need to change this entirely. Because I want this to always run the first time it's loaded. I have a Discord. Here I have Discord from Jason. This snippet from Jason. Let's paste it in and see what it looks like. I'm just going to paste it in here. This thing, if the thing, what is this? Public and thing, greater than or equal to. Oh, I see what you're doing here, I think. So, hold on. Let me just throw that in here. Okay. So this would be up here then, right? Place in the class is not a method. Okay. So that would be my stuff. So hit point index, and this is thing, I'm assuming. So, okay. And this would be hit points. So we'll call it hit points with an uppercase H for now. Hit points equals. If hit points index is less than 0, then get thing value, which is going to be get hit points. Otherwise, return 0. Or otherwise it would return get hit points. Wait. Oh wait, yeah, I'm so okay. Hit point index is less than 0. But I do need to return hit points the first time this is called. So this is going to have to return the hit points. Hit points index is less than 0. Then hit points index equals. Otherwise return this. But so this is really, so this doesn't really gain hit points then. Right, because to get hit points I need to return this value. So I can copy this up here. Where is there? Oh, because a float. Okay, let's change this to a float. Okay, so I can do this if get thing value, which we can call this get hit points, is returning that, because that's going to assign, and then, but why is this float? Oh, because it's no, because I need to return both. Hit points has to equal hit points, not So yeah, okay. Got it, I think. Get hit points. All right. So this is really going to be get hit points and assign. And we're returning the float because here we're just assigning it here. And we're also going to return if we assign it. Otherwise, we're going to assign it to -1 still. All right, so then let me delete this bit. All right, if this is what you were thinking of, then what we're doing here, and I will remove that, and remove that, and remove this hit point index. Okay. I need to train myself to use those underscores, I think, for the private ones. All the cool cats do that, and I don't. And I want to be a cool cat. All right, so hit point index is 0. Hit points is going to be hit point index is less than 0, then get hit points. Now this is going to return the value if we can assign the hit points. And so this is where we need to add in a 0 though, because we still need that. If hit point index is less than 0 still, then return 0 and kill the player, because we can't return. Check Discord again. Check Discord again. Let's see. Age is -1. If age is negative, get starting age is 18. If I'm reading this correctly, I think we're talking about two different things. And hear me out, because let's see. So hit points is one of these in this list of stat or skills, and it might be different for at time to time. I might end up removing one of these so the index changes, and the value I'm trying to get is this points right here. That's the value I'm trying to, or yes, points actually. And good thing I checked that, because I'm actually returning the wrong thing here. Points. Okay, so that's the value I'm trying to get, but hit point index is the question mark. I don't know what that is. So we're starting at -1, and that's where if I want to get the hit points, then I can either, so if the index has not been assigned, basically, if it's -1, then I'm going to get hit points, which is going to do two things. And I'm going to rename this get points and assign index, so it's more clear. So get hit points and assign index. It's actually the other way around, but that's okay, I think. If it's under 0, then we're going to assign the hit points index, which is just going to go and find the hit point index, return, or assign it here and return. Otherwise, keep it at -1. And if it's -1, return 0, which will return basically saying that the player, this would return 0, a value of 0. Otherwise, return this right here, this same thing. Return this. So I think what I'm reading in this snippet here from, if I go into Discord here, if I'm reading this, what we're really talking about here is saying that age is going to start at -1. And this is so like if hit points is -1, if we haven't assigned hit points yet, but we have assigned hit points in this regard. It's assigned, either it's already assigned in the save file or in the start of the game. So this wait, index of stat or skills dot index of stat or skills first or default. So this is not a dictionary, actually. This is one of the well, this is actually just a star skill object, so it's not the Infinity PBR dictionary that I made, but it's just this. You can ignore all of these, but it is stat or skill. So this is stat or skill, and it has the points and these other values, which for hit points aren't being used. It is for max hit points, but not for hit points. For hit points, it's just going to be keeping track of the points. There's just a lot of extra stuff there that might be leading folks astray. But in this regard, it's just keeping track of that one data value, but in the same structure as the rest of the stat or skills. So it's not a dictionary in this regard. Oh, and forgive me, I totally missed some comments. Artwin was asking, and Jason was replying to him, not me. Ha 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 ha. Joke's on me. All right. So now that we have that in our player portrait, and now we need to do the same thing for magic points. So I'm just gonna copy some stuff over. Let's see. Whoa, what did I do? Don't do that. Okay. Excuse me. So we'll do the same thing here. And okay, so I need to mark this as non-serializable. Not serializable. How do you do not serializable? Let's find out. Unity 3D. Mark something as do not serialize. Serialize. Non-serializable. That seems a very straightforward system, non-serialized. So I was on something when I said non. So I'm not going to serialize this because you keep a fair not to serialize or show in the inspector. My goal here is to not save this data. I don't want this value saved. Because every time the game is loaded, I want it to start at -1, just in case the index has changed. Do it at awake? Oh, I think I see what you're saying. I think so. Really, and this is silly of me to have not thought of this. Awake. Public awake or private awake. Void. Put this down here. Private void awake. If assign hit points index, and we're going to assign magic points. Points index. Magic. And we need the magic point index. Magic points. Magic points. Assign index. Magic points. Magic points and assign index. Magic point index. Assign magic points. Magic and magic. magic, and magic. Magic. All right. Now I should be able to go back here and just say if player hit points is not equal active hit points, and if player magic points. And look at that. Now that is so much prettier and cleaner than it was before. And in fact, one of the things, what player are we? Once we know what player we are, then we can say private player. Okay, look at me. Underscores. Player equals game data dot data player. Can I do that? Can I access object field player in a static context? Because this is a static context, but that's not static. So how would I return that? How would I return that? If so, can I access static field player in a static context? And this is a static context, I'm assuming then, because I'm saying it equals this, and that's therefore always static. But player is not static. Lists of lists. Lists of lists are one of my favorite things. Lists of lists that contain lists of other lists. You can never assign an array value outside of a method. So this has to be a method. Get player. And then I put down private player, get player, and I return that. No. Private static. No. Oh, no, no. This is not static, is it? No, this is not a static class. But this has to be static then. This doesn't work then. You can't call methods in the assignment of variables at the start of a class, so you can't assign default values that are not plain values. I see. So I can't do this because we don't know what this is. Is that the extent of it? So I have to do it in a wake function. So the idea would be this is going to be empty, and I will copy that, but in an awake function, well, you know, I might not actually know. I think I know this at the beginning. I think I assigned this in the inspector, so I should know it. Whoa, not that, whatever that is. Public void, private void, wake. So, what do I call it? Underscore player. Okay, and then I can just do player hit points and player magic points. Walks through the script once, assigns all the errors, then walks through the second time. Oh, I see. So what you're saying is that the first time this script is run through in the game, it's doing this before it does awake. So the method I was putting up here doesn't exist because this doesn't exist. That makes sense. That makes sense. But this works too. My only goal really was to simplify this down a little bit, so that player could be underscore player instead. In fact, I'm doing that elsewhere, so let me just change that to underscore player, but I'm going to have to refix it here. So replace all, but then fix that there. Okay. So now I just changed that in 23 different places. So it's a lot easier to read. Player character race, player gender. And that was the goal there of that, just to make it a little bit easier to read for me. And I did it, which is nice. All right. So technically, this should disappear now. And let's see if it did. I'm getting another issue here. Portrait.game data. Ah, okay. So earlier we did this. And now, if I add that here, does that solve that issue? Okay, look at this. Okay, this is actually another topic entirely. I was saying the portrait game data equals, I was just saying link, I don't need to do that anymore because I've learned something new. That's why, because now I'm using this. So before I had this as like a variable here and I had to assign it. And I was assigning it here being like, I need to assign it. I don't need to do that anymore. Yeah. So that saved me a lot of 29 matches. I can get rid of all of this now, so delete them all and get a bunch of errors. Why am I getting an error then? Game data. Why am I getting an error? An error. Not sure why I'm getting an error. Game data. Oh. Oh, I see. That find and replace did not find and replace with capitalization in mind. So it replaced both of these. So let's do it again. There we go. That is why. All right. So player portraits. Let me start again. That should have cleared out that error. Okay. I'll start again. Crocker Knuckles. Let's see if it works. All right. So clearly everyone's dead. That's what this is saying. That's what this is saying. Let me pause it. That's the error we wanted to see, that first one up there. That's fine to keep that there. Down here, no other errors. Are you serious? Only that, which is okay. No console errors except for the one that I want to see, which is great. Now the problem is our portraits are clearly returning 0. So let's dig into that and see what our health is. Hit points is definitely 30, so this should be 30. But it doesn't appear to be showing up as 30. Where is my canvas? Player portraits. All right, that's this one. Hit point slider. Value is man. Value is 1. So when I'm saying this value, it's saying it as nan, which I think is a code word for null or something. Yes, I have a lot of name equals somethings and capitalization. Yes, that's true. Name dot equals something, string comparison, ordinal, ignore case. I think I actually used, oh, nan equals not a number. Thanks, Mike. Not a number. That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense than this mysterious, I think it means something like null. So it's not a number. Does that mean I'm returning float? Let's see. What am I doing here? Okay. Hit point value is 0. Final stat. Oh, look, I'm doing actually, what am I doing here? Okay, well this, I should have checked this earlier because this is going to be simplified big time. I don't need any of that. All I really need to do is this part. So let me just delete all that junk. Hit point. That's the hit point value. Or is it? Wait, do I have to do the math to make it 0 through 1? I do. Okay, that's what I was doing here. Okay, I get it. I get it. Because I'm trying to get a percentage from 0 to 1. All right. So, hit point value, I know what that is. So I can comment out this for now. Oh no, I need that. Okay. So this is going to be hit point percent of total. Spell it right. Okay. So I know what active hit point value is. That's that. So I can get rid of that. Only to magic. Max magic is okay. Yeah. So if it's a, all right. Can ignore those two. Okay. Final stat. Hit point max. Underscore player. So this is something I need to update here then. So now we're getting to a point where I didn't think I was going to get to today, but it looks like we need to, because I need to get the final stat. And then that will set that. The rest should just work. So I need to get the final stat properly. So to get that, I'm going to shift this. Forget a RPGF. I'm going to shift this to the player as well. So let's go back to the player here. And we will do hit point max. I'm going to do the same thing here. And we're just going to call this hit point max index. Hit points max, hit point max index. And I'm going to do I think I need to simplify this because I don't want to keep making more of these. And I don't think I need to keep more of these because I think I will assign these in awake. So I think if I assign these in awake, and I can say instead of assign hit point values, I'll just say assign stat and skill indexes. Comment these out. void. So what I'm really doing here is just a whole bunch of these. Copy and paste. The list index issue. Are we talking about the list index issue again now, where this could be made better? Because I mean, technically, what I want to cache these values so that I don't need to do this anymore. So instead, hit points would just be equal to this. Alt enter. Yes, I've done that once. I did it earlier today, but I haven't trained myself to do the create the method that way. Okay. Discord. Artwin, there you are. Hi, Artwin. This is the first time we've talked. Oh, are you saying so? Making this a dictionary of values? That would make sense. I think I'm gonna. This might not be the best practice. I don't want Unity to serialize these values. So these I don't want Unity to serialize at all. And well, I mean, it's fine if it serializes it actually, but what I mean is, well, can't do two things at once. Max. So we're gonna set these at awake because the index might actually change. So it's fine if it saves it because at awake we'll just redo it. But essentially, I'm just gonna clear these out and clean it up a little bit. I really just want this to happen. And oops. Point max index and magic point index max index, so I can not do this. Same for the player. Indexer, same. Why do the same for the player? You know the way you have an indexer. Why not do the same for the player? Not sure I understand. Yes, Jehorto, that is true. That a -1 means it's not assigned yet. Yep, that would be nice, Jason. That's what we're in a way doing here. Just player dot hit points. That's dot notation, but the other, putting in quotes in the brackets would be fine too. Absolutely, that would be no questions there. If are we? Is that what I was going to say? That's what Artwin, I think, was suggesting, that put it into a dictionary, and it would be a dictionary of floats and ints, essentially. in quotes means you write it once and don't have to write each one out one by one. So, okay, if I'm seeing where you're going with this, while I'm thinking, hit points. Yeah, index that by name. So, hold on. My mouse wheel is turning in my head. Now I'm not the best user of dictionaries, but if I have a dictionary of values, string, and stat or skill, essentially, I'll call this just stats. Do I have something already called stats? Stats. New dictionary. Okay. And then if I am Jahorto stat or skill, and Jahorto, just so you know, there's a conversation on the YouTube stream that I don't think you can see from Twitch. So there if you get confused as to why I keep saying some random things, that would be it. So stat or skill is itself a class that holds some data. It's got a name and it's got points, which is essentially what we're trying to get here. So if I then set this up in at awake, so I'm going to try this. Assign dictionary stat or skill. And there's no keyboard click for that, but I can do it like this. And we're going to pass in a string, actually. Hit points, string name, or we'll call it stat name. Then I'm going to say stats.add stat name and int index equals break. So how about this? If it doesn't equal stat name, then we continue. Otherwise, we assign it to index. And then we break index. But what we're really doing here is stat or skills index. Okay, we'll just use 0. All right. Jason posted a long snippet to me. People are saying no. Stat or skills is a little bit of a confusing name. I think I need to change it to stat or skills. The whole intent of that stat or skills was that each object could be a stat or a skill, and it doesn't matter. At first I was calling it stat skills, and I thought that was more confusing. But Jason's story. Let's see. Let's break this down. String float, stat values. Public float, this string stat. Okay, there's a bunch here that I need to decompact. So I'm going to come over here. I'm assuming, making an assumption here, that this would live on the class level. Is that true? We have stat values. This part confuses me. I'm not sure. What is this and then string stat? So this is where you just say, so this is just to connect it to what you were saying earlier. This would be like player hit points, like that. Would call this with passing this through. Okay. Okay. I think that makes sense. I'm going to put that there so I don't forget. Okay. And so it has a get. If stat values equals null, stat values equals new dictionary. So in essence, create a new dictionary, stat values. Okay. So what you're doing is, this is null. So if it's null, create a new one. Makes sense. So I don't have to do that in awake. And then, because yes, there's, yeah. I mean, there's always chances, I suppose, that if this never gets called, it's probably more optimized to never even create the dictionary in the first place. And then, okay, if this stat value, gosh, contains the stat name, I'm going to actually change this to stat name to help myself out. Contains stat name. Gosh, stop that. Okay, let's make it stop that. Okay. Points. Okay, stat or skill. Ooh, wait, okay, let me one step at a time. If the stat contains, return stat value, stat name. Returns the float. Okay, it returns the float of that. Okay, skill dot points. Okay. So if it contains, then I'm going to return the stat value, which is a float. Skill. What is first or default? I'm guessing this is like a sorting thing. Skill. Start skill where exit name equals stat name. First default name. So the name of the string in dictionary. And default would return null, I'm assuming. Is that correct? Yes, because if skill is not null, then equals skill points. Now, question on this. If this is already assigned, the points can change throughout the game. So what I was thinking with this doing, instead of doing a stat or skill with the dictionary, since points will always change, I need to return not a float, but rather the stat or skill. Contains key. That makes more sense. Does that make sense? So instead of doing a float, I would do stats, and I would return stat_name dot points here. Stat or skill. Because if it's already assigned, I'm going to return points, but this might change. So, and then otherwise, then we're going to find it if, okay, first or default, and assign. So this is going to give a stat or skill. And stat or skill is not equals null. I'm just going to do this for myself. Then stat name equals just skill. And we're going to call this stat or skill. Okay. And then return -1. I'm going to return. Is there a reason to return -1 instead of returning 0? Because generally I would want to return 0, I think, instead of -1. So I'm going to do that for now, but -1. Okay. So this is cool. Okay, 0 is fine. Good to know. Thank you for confirming that. And I don't need this one. Comment that out. I don't need any of this mess of code. And I don't need any of this in awake. And I don't need any of this here as well. This has been very educational for me, so thank you, everybody. Artwin, Jason, and also forgetting your screen name, and it's moved off the screen, but the fellow on Twitch. Okay, I'll have to save this. I might use this technique in other cases. I think in this case, I definitely want to cache it. Because we're going to be calling hit points and hit point max and stuff all the time. So this will cache it. My understanding is this will cache the reference to stat or skill will be cached the first time I call, say, hit points. And then from then on, it will use the dictionary link. And so we're avoiding then having that this called every time I need to call a value from stat or skill. And really, this is going to be stat. No. Nope. Yeah, that's fine because. Wait. So this would actually be better if this were not float, because there's definitely be places where I don't want to get points and I want to get something else. Can I return null or just return default? So in this case, doing this, I would do player hit points. And then this would be player magic points. Oh, there's only one match. Okay, well then, hit points. Invalid. Artwin, are you suggesting that I should return invalid? Is that? or something like that. Because you're right, that would cause an issue. Rather than like getting the, like if I typed in whip points instead of hit points. And then what we need here. I see what you mean. So -1 is considered invalid value. I see. So that's just like a common thing that people do. Say it's invalid. I got it. Okay. And Jason, earlier you said, as a fun side note, new player stat is called an indexer. You can have as many as you want. So player int versus player string be all different functions that return different things about a player. So if I like call player 2, number 2, not in quotes. In this regard, what got us on this was I needed to add hit points max and make it more complicated. Okay. So now I'm going to say player hit points max and, in quotes, hit points max. And this is going to be final stat and really get final stat. Now that is going to be what is get final stat? Is a return a float? Where's star skill? Okay. Dot point. So it's where am I? So what I'm really doing is dividing this. So okay, get final stat. So this is going to be saying hit points, current hit points, divided by the maximum hit points. Or yeah, would be get the final stat. Yeah. And then get final stat. This is part of the stat or skills, where it's going to do the final value multiplied by 1 plus the final proficiency times 10 divided by 10. Because to round, this will round it to 1. And final value, just to... Oops. My computer just went somewhere else. There we go. Okay. Final value is just a float. Final value, final proficiency. In this regard, I don't need to recompute them. I will recompute them when a stat changes. I just need to call the get final stat, and that should be enough for the hit points on player portrait to get the percentage total and return the proper amount, and we should see some colorful bars here. Well, we see one colorful bar, so that's something, but then there's our other errors. Okay, what's going on here? That's, yeah, better, I guess. 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or 2 steps forward, 1 step back. What is this saying? Object reference not set to an instance of an object. If player isn't set, is that what it's saying? Okay, so if not player, oops, return. Or if player has value, no. The environment is from Nature Manufacturer's Meadow Environment Pack, which may have been made with Gaia, for all we know. Have to talk to Bart from Nature Manufacturer, very nice fellow. But he may have used Gaia to create the environment. But this is just the demo scene, because I like to prototype and work on stuff in a pretty environment because it makes me feel better as I deal with bugs and learning new things all the time. So it's just my personal preference to work with something pretty, and the Nature Manufacturer demo scenes are really pretty like that. It is fluid. The demo scene is optimized. If there's any issues, it's likely with my own stuff that I've added. I'm not sure what the frame per second is, though. What is going on? Okay, so it's not player that's not assigned. Player does seem to be assigned. Could it be that the dictionary is not assigned somehow? Let's see. Load health bar for player.name. Does player have stat or skill? That would be important. Is a player stat or skill assigned? It should be. Let's find out. Debug.log. Player.stats or skills.count. We'll just print out that. What else could it be? Debug.log. Player hit points. Points. Oh, I wonder if hit points max is not the right stat or skill for this. That could be it, and this could be the case for that. What happens if I have a typo? And the hours of debugging that Artwin was alluding to earlier. If I go down here to my game data, what did I call my hit points max? I have a feeling I called it something completely different. I think I saw it. Base hit points, max HP is probably what I called it. Oh, nope. Magic points max. I did call it magic point max. Hit points magic point max. Hit points max. Okay, so that wasn't it. That wasn't it. Let's see. All right, let me just run this and see if any of those throw an error to narrow down what's going on all of a sudden. pause this. So we got the points. We got this. I'm going to do 2 of these just to see. Call this points. Actually, I'm going to throw this one above the other one. I'm expecting it's the get final stat is throwing an error. Homework for me. See? Jason is a tutor. He assigns homework. This is like the 3rd or 4th time he's assigned me homework, but it's always good homework, and it usually makes me take 5,000 steps forward and have to redo everything I was coding the past 2 weeks. And that's how I spend my weekends sometimes. Last weekend, that's actually literally how I spent my last weekend. I learned some stuff and then, I shouldn't have cleared that. And then I had to redo a bunch of stuff because I learned some stuff. But it's all good because it made everything better. And the process of redoing it, where I force myself to type things out, helps me learn it. So, all right. I think this is a different location. Question on Twitch was, would I recommend using built-in render or URP, HDRP with my assets? And I would say with any assets, avoid HDRP unless you know what you're doing. HDRP, in my opinion, is the type of thing that you should only do if you know what you're doing. And if you don't know why you're using it and how to use it, then don't try to use it right now. URP, however, is becoming more mature. Right now, if you just want to get something going, just use the built-in because it works. URP still has some rough edges, my understanding is, so maybe hold off. But it's more mature now than it was before. All right. This is now throwing an error here. Why is this one? That's a completely different location than before. Okay, no, it's not. I was in a different location. Okay, so this is throwing a null reference exception. So my guess is then that this dictionary is either not there or it's returning something that's not there, returning default. And so debug.log error stat or skill stat name not found. All right, so that's what's going on. Somehow, it's not finding the stat or skill hit points. And that's throwing an error. So I need to account for that here. So let me just delete those. So we're going to say if the hit points hasn't been loaded yet. I think it's basically saying it's just not loaded yet, the data. So I'm going to say if player hit points equals null, return. That should do the trick then, I think. I don't think it's a casing issue. Whoops. Could be wrong. But I think what my guess is it just literally hasn't been loaded, the data, maybe. That, and so it hasn't been found. That's what I'm thinking, but let's find out. I could be wrong. It happens. Yep. Could easily have just happened. I was wrong. Well, this shouldn't have even been called. Clarifying question. Is returning default the same as returning null? Okay. So doing the A equals B string comparison ordinal case in the indexer. So this is the indexer. Is that correct? Where's the indexer? Or is this the indexer? I think you may have sent. Ah. I'm confused. Wait. Line 57. On player? Oh, on this part. Okay. X.name. I see. So instead of saying is it exactly equals equals stat name dot where's the string comparison ordinal ignore case. Okay. Eighteenth time is the charm. Nope, that wasn't it. So I had a feeling that wouldn't solve it because we can see what they're called right here. They're called hit points max and oops. Well, gosh, frame rate's terrible right now. And hit points. So it's definitely called hit points, but somehow it's not finding it in this key. So I'm gonna, just to make sure I don't, well, actually, let me do a couple things. First, I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to undo a bunch of stuff. And then comment it out, paste it. So, okay, let me just work it out here. This part's fine. Create a new dictionary. If it contains the key, then it's going to return that. That seems straight up fine as well. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to find it. So stat or skill equals stat or skill first or default. If it doesn't equal null, and so then we're assigning it to the value of this key, stat name, and then oh, and then we only returned ever null. Ha, that's why. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I bet. Return stats stat name. We are never returning it. No one saw that. That's because everyone was so excited by all the other cool stuff that you didn't look at the. There it is. All right. Now the bigger question is why they are all not 100% health. So that was the issue. We just weren't returning the proper value. But why is their health bar not full? Hit points. Hit points max. Final value is 45 times 1. That's why, because they apparently aren't set at the beginning of the game to have the final value of hit points. So that's a note for me to do. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is where I'm going to end it because this is exactly where I wanted to get today. It took longer than I thought. I'm going to do more later when I'm not streaming. I need to do the magic bars. I need to fix this so that when the game starts, they start with full health because that makes a lot of sense. We can see, though, let's see if they start losing their health, if we get attacked by things. Frame rate's terrible right now, as you can see. And I don't think that's caused by the game itself, but rather perhaps by this inspector script or something. Something else is causing it, I think. Yep. So that being open was causing that frame rate. Let's go get attacked and see if my health is going down. Let's get attacked by a bunch of these. Jason, you remember a question a long time ago where I was talking about how to get these bad guys to all line up properly. So my health isn't going down. That's another thing entirely. But I'm being attacked now. Whoops, that's not the one. Where is actors? Yeah, so there we go. So they're all surrounded me now. So when I look around with my keyboard, being hoarded by all these goblins, and this one, yeah, that one too. And if I run away, We should see them following me and recircling around me. It was about a year ago, yeah. I started restarted working on this game again when COVID started. And we stopped, I mean, we never went out that much anyways, but I suddenly was inspired. And that was one of the first things I really wanted to do, was get them to kind of surround me. And you see these other ones are like, I can't get in there, so I'm just going to walk around. But these other ones are all kind of surrounding me so that you can get surrounded by a horde of goblins who are all just going to town. In turn-based mode in this game as well. So now, if I attack, you see them dodge, and then every once in a while one of them will attack me when their turn comes up. Yeah, and then these ones on the outside should randomly walk around or walk towards me, one of the two, when their turn comes up. I'm just holding down A now to cycle through these attacks, the player attacks. Animation check if hit as... No, I don't think the hit comes from the animation, actually. I think I'm just doing the coding because it's not... the animations aren't controlling whether or not things hit, in essence, if that makes sense. They're just playing... Jorhoto on Twitch wants to see the frame rate. So frame rate is there. Oops. Okay. So there you go. So, now, yeah, it's definitely smoother when it's full screen. You can see all these. I need light probes. That's why they're all highlighted like that. We need light probes. How do I do animation call functions on the objects? I'm assuming you mean on the goblins? Honestly, it's actually been a bit since I've gone into this. Property blocks. Jason. That's the thing I know I need to know. Yes. A good frame rate at a high resolution. Yeah, the environment's optimized. The characters are, they're not super low poly. They're low poly for games, of course, but they're not like insanely low. They look good close up. Built-in pipeline, just a standard renderer, nothing fancy. And literally, this is just the demo scene. We got this some shadow stutter thing going on, but yeah, I hope I will know it once your video is done, because that's something that I've looked at and was like, I should learn that, but I don't want to right now. So my notes to do now are to make sure these are 100% at the start, and that's not an issue with my scripting here, but rather an issue with my new character creation scene. I need to also show the magic points or hide the magic points bar if the character doesn't use magic, so it doesn't even show up. And those are my two big notes for myself, and to go from there. So thank you all for watching. As a reminder, the asset store is having a wonderful sale right now. So if you go to infinitypbr.com and click See All Assets, which puts my affiliate link in there, you can go see all these great assets. 2 of my packs are on sale right now. The Character Complete Bundle, which includes the goblins that you were seeing, the humans that you were seeing, and a whole bunch of other things as well. It's now also got the latest horse pack, which just was released a little bit ago. So we're going to be doing more with this. This currently doesn't have animations of its own, but does work with the Malber's animation set. And we're going to be doing some tutorials on how to get riding capabilities with these using that package and these horses, and Pegasus and unicorns, because there's also Pegasus and unicorns that can fly. So lots of cool stuff there, and also the low poly pack for those interested in low poly pack, and the medieval town environment is out as well. thank you, Jorhoto, for getting the RPG character pack yesterday. I'm glad you were able to save some cash on it too. I know it's an expensive pack, worth it, but it's expensive, so I always appreciate that. Yeah, one day I hope that the asset store will discount bundles prorated based on what you already have that's in the bundle, but that is not the case today, unfortunately. So if you got the Humble Bundle, then it does create a question whether you should get it or not. The only thing I will say is the plan, and this is not a promise, but the plan is that we will add additional things to this bundle as they come up. So, the horse just got added, so if you already had the bundle, it's free. The price didn't go up during that edition. Eventually, maybe it will. I don't know. I have no idea. No promises there. It might stay the same forever. And then we're working on new wardrobe packs as well. A villager wardrobe pack with like blacksmith and dresses and much more normal villager clothing, etc. So things will be added to this. That's the plan as they come up. Mostly wardrobe, weapons, and the horse I wanted to add because I figured, hey, it's not a complete RPG if you don't have the horse. In my opinion. So definitely check those out. If you're watching on Twitch, please like and subscribe and share. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. You would be helping us out tremendously. We're trying to grow the audience, especially on YouTube, but also on Twitch because Jim, the guy who's been doing all of our cool videos on YouTube, he's been doing all these like player setup videos and all these quick tips. He's got some great stuff coming in the pipeline, but we need to build up the audience so that I can keep paying him to make such cool content, including all these tips that really kind of are agnostic and not really about my assets, but just kind of make use of my assets. So definitely like and subscribe and get this to the next goal is over 1,000 and 4,000 watch hours so we can get on YouTube's next whatever their tier is. So there you go. Getting started guide I would recommend. I mean, in general, thanks Artwin. I had fun too, and it was longer than I thought it was going to be. And Jason, Story, I hope you started by eating dinner, and I hope that your dinner didn't last the entire stream. You stuck around, and I appreciate that. As always, thank you for your tips. Definitely appreciate it. So a couple things I want to talk about before I leave, actually. Johorto, you asked two things. One, if there's any getting started guide, I would start here just with the quick start, and then there's just a whole bunch of tutorials. I need to update this and scrape the old ones because there's a lot here. But there's that, and if you go to infinitypbr.com, then there's this right here as well. This list will have just the basics for some of the stuff. The other question though that was asked, which I think is important, this is a subjective thing, but Johorto, you said what worries you is that if you use the goblins, they'll be recognized in other games. Yes, that's technically true. I'm pretty sure these goblins have never been released in a game, so there's that. But I think what's important is to remember that the goal right now is to get your game made. What happens after your game is made, that's a different topic entirely. Technically, if you're going the path of you want to get Kickstarter funds, then the Kickstarter will pay for new art. So you can get your own goblins that look different than my goblins. And that's important because if you want to get your game kickstarted, you're going to have something pretty. And hopefully my stuff will help your game get kickstarted. If you're going for a publisher route, same deal. They're probably going to want you to change the value, the characters and stuff. The other thing is, you see that right here in this video, let me just bring it up on YouTube actually, and watch an ad. But the blend shapes help differentiate a little bit. So you can change the blend shape, you can make your custom textures. But you can see here the blend shapes and the randomization just by changing the textures and the blend shapes, you can get some different looks. It's not a huge amount of different looks. People will probably still recognize it, especially with the armor and the weapons and whatnot. So I think that the key is two things. One, your goal now is to get your game made and make it pretty. At this point, it doesn't necessarily make much sense, in my opinion, to worry about how many other people have the same art, because you got to get your game made. And if you're going to spend all your time trying to get custom art for a game that isn't even at production level yet, then you're going to spin wheels and you're not going to get your game made. So make your game with art from the asset store, my stuff, other people's stuff, free stuff that you find. That doesn't matter. The point is to get your game made. And then when you get to the point where you're going to do Kickstarter, or where you're going to do a publisher route, or where you're going to actually invest. Let's say you just happen to have a ton of money laying around, and you're going to invest your own funds into it. That's the point at which you start spending money, right, to get custom art. Because right now, your game doesn't make any money. Your game may never come out. You may never get to the point where you get it published. Who knows what could happen between now and then? So your goal right now is to get your game made, and get it made with whatever art you have available today, rather than the art you hope to have tomorrow, because who knows what tomorrow is going to bring. That's my theory. So to the question of if other people have assets in the game, don't worry about it. And to be fair, I am very biased, not only because I sell the stuff, of course, but also because I made a game called the Barbarian, which is entirely made with assets from the asset store, and including my own assets. Now, these goblins are not my own assets, but you can see this is the first release. I actually changed the characters out, but this is all stuff from the asset store. I changed the human characters out at some point, but this was when I first released it. Oh, so many years, 6 years ago now. Oh, there's been an ad. But anyways, the point is, I was okay with it, and I suggest that it's okay. It's not that bad. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to see. One other thing I've been trying to do is start and end with something prettier. So that's the Barbarian with my human characters, and you see my mushroom monster, the flying eye. That's not mine, but you can see how I everything here's from the asset store. Other goblins from Polygon Maker, skeletons from Polygon Maker. Those knights are from Polygon Maker. This is top down from manufacturer K4. I'm sure everyone's recognized that, but hey, game still makes $7 a week. So $7 a week in my pocket for my coffee that I can't get because of COVID. So the one thing I want to end things by doing is going to a nice, prettier video and ending it there. So again, thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you again in the future.